Hey guys, I want to thank all of you for being here. DM, thank you for already uh, doing your thing in the chat. Thank you so much. Privileged white male, glad to see you here, sir. Margot Dahlgren, thank you, dear. Patty Toft White's in here, and of course, DM and Dangerous Freedom. There may be more in here. I'm not sure. I saw several in the chat, but we'll take a few minutes and we'll just, hey, Dangerous, how you doing, brother? My chat lags pretty bad, so I'm probably 45 seconds to a minute behind on my chat. So if I don't respond right away, it's because I don't get it till later. So I'm showing I got 5 in the chat. I like to, just hang around for a minute and see if we could get a few more people in here before I actually get started. But people that see this on the replay, and of course, all of y'all in here now know to hit that bell icon and the like, and leave me comments. And if you're not a subscriber, then please subscribe. I'm going to talk about some other stuff here in a little bit, but it is a Wednesday night. Lately, Wednesday nights get pretty good, but it's a little after 8 o'clock. So I'm hoping that in a minute we get some more people in here. Like I say, it's Kipper. How you doing, brother? Tigger's in here. Yeah, I think my count's just lagging behind as well. It'll probably catch up here in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Guys, y'all all know me, and you know that I've never used my PayPal account for anything. I've never asked for money. I've made a point not to. But my PayPal information will be somewhere in the chat. And I'll tell you, brothers, the longer I do this, the more it's costing me. So if you could like what I do, and if you want to help me keep coming to you, then if you have $1, send it to me. Believe me, it'll go to good use. I have expenses coming up that I never really expected when I started this a year ago on my phone. I went out of pocket for everything for the first year, and now I'm having to pay these monthly things so I can have access to a lot of different stuff. And I want to get a printer and some other stuff. But anyway, my PayPal information will be in the link below. If you want to contribute to help me grow, it's greatly appreciated. And I know this is stuff you haven't heard coming out of me in the past, but that's just the way it is. I guess time takes its toll. But if you want Deplorable Bobby, the way I see it, to keep coming, then help me grow. And it will be appreciated, my dear friends. But anyway, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight. But Friday at 3 p.m., Dangerous Deplorables, Dangerous Freedom, and I'll be on at 3 p.m. or whenever Pete's done. If he runs over, we're a little late. If he cuts short, we're a little early. But Friday night at 8 p.m., I do a Deplorable Bobby show at 8. Sunday at 11 a.m., we have a Bible study here. And at 8 p.m. on Sunday night, after Alex, Disabled Vets Perspective, Ron and I have another episode of Dangerous Deplorables. And then next Wednesday night at 8 p.m., 1 week from tonight, I will be live with Tactical Technician. He's going to come on and he's going to share some really good stuff with us. But we're going to get started. We're not going to dilly-dally too long because I got a lot of information in here and I may not be able to get it all in. But I don't know if y'all have heard about these new laws or not that are across the country, but New York has come out with one, and it's a no bail system for people who are arrested. Now, I've only been arrested once in my life. Thank God for that. And I was only in jail for about 11 hours and I got out. But I learned then not to drink and drive after that. That was back in 1998, I think. But anyway, what it boils down to, it cost me a lot of money and I had to pay a lot of bail to get out. And now New York City has wiped that away. The New York City dams are responsible for an explosion. Get that, people, an explosion, they said, of crimes because of new legislation that they've just passed. in New York City. Since January 1st this year, 2020, robberies are up 32.5%. Car theft is up 61%. Burglaries are up 18% compared to the same time last year at the same time. You know, the recently enacted law is a no bail law, and it's not only stupid on the face of it, it's totally insane to arrest criminals. Then you book them, and then you just set them free with no bail. I mean, you set them free, you're letting the criminals just out of jail. It's absolutely insane. There's no reason for them to come back. There's no reason for them to show up in court. They don't have a bail bondsman who's going to hire a private detective, or bounty hunter, to bring them in if they jump bail. But this way, there's no bail to jump, so they just don't come back. They're letting the criminals out of the jail with no bail is precision policing in reverse. I always hear this all the time about precision policing. These police are doing things, in a precise way for a precise goal and a precise end. But now it's all in reverse in New York City. The no bail law is new, but the consequences, this is what, the 28th, something like that. I have to look at my phone. I don't even know what the date is today. 29th. I mean, it's only the 29th of the month. And in 29 days, and we've had all these uptakes in crimes in New York City. The recently enacted no bail law is not only stupid on the face of it, it's totally insane. It's totally insane. How can you arrest somebody, fingerprint them, book them, and let them go? It sounds a lot like what they're doing with the illegal immigrants. That's what they do with them. They arrest them and then they have to let them go. Maybe it's just an overflow into New York City because of Bill de Blasio. Don't get me off on Bill de Blasio, because I'll tell you, Bill de Blasio is as corrupt as they are. He's got his money into everything. It's into every state and almost every community and district across America. He said he'd go broke. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to be elected. What he wants to do is take away guns. And that's not all he wants to do. He wants to make it criminals all over the world running free. It's exactly what he wants. Jail population has dropped 20% in New York City since he did this. And just this month, 20%, a 20% drop in New York City jails. So he's getting the job done. He's getting prisoners out of jail. So, we don't have overcrowding. We can't have overcrowding. So now they have plenty of room in the jails, but there's nobody being kept. That's why eventually in the next several weeks, you're going to see all these people who are in jail. If it's not for a capital crime, they're going to be released. They're just going to be released and they'll never show back up for court. They'll be just like the Mexicans, who are caught at the border and then, given a court date and released. They never come back. These are the people that we have in our society that we should be so grateful for. I mean, you listen to Bill de Blasio and Hillary Clinton and Pelosi and all the rest of these bleeding heart liberal socialist Satanist demon rats. I don't know what else to call them. I'm going to get on a rant here in a minute, so we'll see how it goes. But I want to talk about something that really gets in my craw, and that's diplomatic immunity. Why in the world? Why in the world should they have diplomatic immunity for everything? First, let's look at what diplomatic immunity really is. Diplomatic immunity is a form of legal immunity that ensures diplomats are given safe passage. You hear that? Safe passage. And are considered not susceptible to lawsuit or prosecution under the host country's laws, although they may be expelled. So, you hear what this thing's saying? You can break almost any law up into murder and never serve a day. The worst you can have done is to be expelled from the host country and sent back home with your tail tucked between your legs. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a whole lot of guys in prison for murder and for manslaughter and a lot of other crimes that they should be in prison for. I would love to have you in their jail cell, and you should be there. I don't believe in this diplomatic immunity stuff. Now, what crimes does it cover? Depending on your diplomatic rank. Are you just a diplomat who does the low-level stuff? Are you a mid-level, or are you a top diplomat? Diplomats have full immunity, as well as their deputies and their families. For instance, ambassadors can commit just about any crime from jaywalking to murder and is still immune from prosecution. He can't be arrested, and he cannot be forced to testify. You get this, people? Diplomatic immunity, it goes way too far. Just this week, a diplomat's wife was protected here in the United States from prosecution, even though she killed a British teenager who was riding his bicycle at the time. And she just ran over him, flat out. The diplomat's wife came to America as fast as she could, and her name was Anne Sokolis, if I get that right. The family of the young man have stated that Sokolis was driving on the wrong side of the road at the time of the crash when she killed their son. So she was on the wrong side of the road. I don't want to hear, well, they drive on the other side of the car over there. Maybe she got confused. Well, no, she's from there. She's from England, so she knows all about which side of the road you drive on, even if you do sit on the other side of the car to drive it. But within hours of the wreck, Sokolos boarded an airplane and left this trouble behind her in the UK. And Sokolos has made it clear that she will not go back to the UK because she faces jail time in England. Now, why do we allow that? This woman killed a kid, a 14-year-old kid. She ran slap over the kid in the wrong lane. She's guilty of manslaughter, vehicular homicide, something. She should be held accountable. If nothing else, that kid's family ought to have some kind of monetary compensation for, if nothing else, just to be a good person. She deserves it. You took her child away from her, but you walk free because your husband is a diplomat. Give me a break. I told you I was going to get in a rant here before too long. But British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that she was wrong to leave the UK for diplomatic immunity from prosecution. The term diplomatic immunity refers to a principle of international law that limits what degree diplomats can be charged no matter the crime. One of the most severe punishments for lawbreaking of diplomats, get this, people, it's to lose their driving privileges or to be sent home. Can you believe that? They can commit any murder. They get pulled over for DUI. Got to let them go, my friend. Can't even take them in. Even if they're drunk, you've got to let them go. Look, we have criminals in every society, and I'm sure there's criminals in there. I'm sure you're going to have these idiots that are shoplifters. You're going to have these thugs and punks and thieves. But no matter if they get caught, they can get caught for espionage. I guess they just get to go home. Well, they lose their driveling privileges first. That makes me sick to my stomach. All right, so I told you I was going to rant, but I'm going to rant on these people because I can't stand it no more. We all understand the cultural, progressive, socialist, Satanist, baby murdering demon rats. Let me get a breath. Reject the humanity of an unborn child. But it will assure us that there are 70 different genders. Now, they don't have a problem murdering babies. These Satanists, they don't have a problem with that, but they really get upset, if you don't address the proper gender. We're so gender oriented now. 70 different genders, they say. The evil demons have no understanding of or relationship with the truth. We all know that I don't know what sex I am, people. I don't know what to call them. LGBTQ, HRQ people, I don't know what I call them. Queers, transvestites, transsexuals, I don't know. But no, they don't like those kind of words. You got to, it just makes me sick. But these people are supported by the demons, on the left, and the extreme issues of gender equality mean everything. Gender equality. And they have 70 different genders. Come on, my Lord, people. Moreover, at this time in history, the demon rat party is truly an evil institution. We've all thought that, the Democrats, were crazy and, they were liars, cons, cheats, and thieves. But they're much worse than that. They're truly an evil institution. They're evil from the very core to the very extent of every arm. They're corrupt. We know them to be full-blown socialists, and we know that socialism has killed hundreds of millions of people just in the 20th century. Socialism doesn't work. And now they're also in favor of infanticide, on a massive scale. Abortion is massive across America. And they're winning that war. They're winning the abortion war. They really are. My friends, it's got to change. The morality of America has to change, not just in your mind, but in your heart. We got to get it right because, people, we have ventured so far away from what's right. Even those of us who try to do right, we fail, but we keep trying. I personally don't think a decent person can support the Democrat Party. I don't think they can do that any longer. I don't think there's no way they can call themselves a Democrat. And we must stop them and keep them out of power at all costs. Even if it means war. Even if it means war, we have to stop them at all costs. I tell you, people, it's a somber topic when you stop and think about it. War in America, war on American soil. How sad and terrible could that be? It could be the worst thing that's ever happened. We have so many people with so many different ideas, but when it comes that time, it's going to be two different ideas, and it's going to be the left and the right. And I don't want war. I don't want to see death and destruction in America. But we may not get that far. I was going to give you some updates on the coronavirus. I know it's all over the news. I know everybody's talked about it and everything else. But I thought maybe I might be able to bring you a little something different than what you've heard on some of this stuff. But as I was doing updates, people, I was getting updates on my updates. I mean, this stuff is growing like candy sticks on your headboard at night. You ever done that? Or you're chewing gum, you take it out and you're a kid, you stick it on the headboard, and next morning you grab it and run. I know that sounds gross, but we did that as kids. And that's why they made a song. Does your bubble gum lose its flavor on your bedpost overnight? But see, that's how old I am. Y'all never heard that. That was an old song out of the 50s. So, but I want to give you an update on this coronavirus, and I'm going to try to give you an update as close as I can to what's happening right now. Right now, they're in Kansas. They're looking at a case. They're not sure yet, but it could be the sixth case in America, and that's in Kansas, right in the heartland. Let's see, today there's more than 100 people are being monitored in 27 states. But now we have that airplane that just came over from China. I don't know, I think it was 207. Most of them were diplomats or had something to do with the government, but there were some civilians on there. And they're all being quarantined at an Air Force base in California. I forgot the name. But they were supposed to go to Ontario, California. They flew from China to Alaska to refuel. They were processed there and had their temperature taken and all that kind of stuff were tested. They were all clean. And then they flew from there supposedly to Ontario. But in between the time that they refueled and left, they had new orders to go to this Air Force base. And pardon me for not having that. I didn't do my job on that one. But anyway, they went to this Air Force base in California, and there they'll stay for 72 hours. Let's see, there was today 86 cases of this H5N1. That's what I like to call it. I don't like the coronavirus. I like to call it what it really is. It's the H5N1 virus, and it's in 17 countries outside of China. So you see, this little thing wasn't going to spread. You know, it was going to stay in China, have one here, one here, one here, maybe in 2 or 3 countries, and we'll suppress it. We'll keep it down. That's what they want you to think. That's what they want you to think. They knew this thing was going to explode, and it's going to explode wide open. Give me a minute. Today, 6,000 cases in China and 130 deaths. Well, yesterday, I saw counts as low as 1,800 cases and 41 deaths, I believe. Yeah, I mean these numbers are changing because you're not getting the truth out of China. You're not going to get any truth out of China. You're not going to get any truth out of the U.S. government or any other government. You're going to get a lie, just like we always get. We always get a lie, and you know we do. They never tell us the truth. My fellow Americans. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, just because Donald Trump says cuss words, which makes him one of us, you know, makes him a normal guy. You know, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, he don't do all this other stuff, but he does cuss a little bit, you know, and he calls people names. So yeah, that makes it all right. So now we're supposed to be really head on with him. Well, let me tell you, I don't trust anybody in our government 100%. Because if they had to, they will lie to protect the Americans because we can't handle the truth. Remember that old movie? I thought was it Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. I did it. Yeah. Remember, you can't handle the truth. Well, that's what they think of us. You see it all the time on all of these sci-fi shows and all this stuff when it's the end of the world or a great catastrophe is fixing to happen. Oh, no, we can't tell the people. We have to suppress this. Just hush, hush. They couldn't handle it. We can't tell them. Can't tell them. But the whole time they're not telling us, they're trying to get to their private secure bunker so they can survive. So you see, that's what we get from our government is lies, cons, deceit. Today, 50 million people, 50 million people quarantined in 15 cities in China. 50 million people. Now, they've already extended their New Year, but yet they've canceled all festivities, everything that revolved around that holiday for them was every holiday we have here in the United States all rolled into one. And it's the biggest deal in the whole country. These people are suppressed. They're under suppression all the time. They're being, re-educated, and they're being murdered and tortured and abused and everything else, used as slaves. And I mean, China does not treat their people well. But these are the people who are going to be suffering and being sick and dying. But they say that we can expect a peak on the H5N1 virus in April. So until April, it's just going to get worse. So keep your eyes on the news. Because I'm going to tell you that China is definitely spreading the lies about the H5N1 virus. Its outbreak is not under control. The Chinese government is working against the tide of truth by lying and spreading misinformation on how they are handling the virus outbreak. You see, it doesn't matter what they're really doing. How does it look? How are they handling this thing? How does it look to the rest of the world? What kind of lies and can we tell that they'll believe? These Chinese state media, they're as bad as the mainstream media over here. They're posting videos of roadblocks and checkpoints, as well as rapidly built hospitals to show China is on top of this virus outbreak. Well, I hate to tell you, people, but I'll get to it here in a minute. But this hospital they're talking about, just a minute and see what it really was. The People's Daily newspaper of the Chinese Communist Party posted a photo of a building they claimed was a hospital in Wuhan, and the entire hospital was said to have been constructed. Get this, my friends. They constructed an entire hospital in 16 hours. Now, I don't know how many of you people in here, besides Dangerous Freedom and myself, know very much about construction or how to build a house or to build any kind of building for that matter. But now get this. They did this in 16 days. 16 hours. Oh, no, 16 hours. The hospital in Wuhan and the entire hospital was said to be constructed in just 16 hours, when in reality, the photo showed, get this, an apartment building that's 600 miles away from Wuhan. So you see, they're showing a building that's 600 miles away from the city as being a hospital they just built in 16 hours. My friends, 16 hours to build a building is impossible. It's absolutely impossible. There's no way. No way. You can't do it. The Chinese government are boasting about the hospital being built in 16 hours. I don't believe this lie for 1 minute. None of it's true. And it's just proof that they're just ready to throw any far-fetched idea out there and expect us to be gullible enough to believe these lies, that they could build a hospital, my friends. You've seen hospitals being built. You've seen supermarkets being built. How long does that take? I mean, come on, people. They can build a 7-Eleven pretty quick, but not in 16 hours. The government in China want to use this bogus new hospital to show it on top of everything, even if the hospital is known to be a total fake. See, they don't care because they lie to us, and they know they lie to us, and we know they lie to us, and we do nothing. China hasn't learned any lessons on viral outbreaks and containment of rogue viruses now unleashed on the world. Remember, in 2003, China did absolutely terrible job concerning the SARS outbreak. So why would we believe that anything coming out of China will be any better with this topic here, considering the H5N1 virus? The totalitarian dictatorship of China runs everything in China, and they lie to the world. They lie to the world, and my friend, we are part of the world. They're lying to us. I question the policy of working and trading with China. Why would we even want to trade with that country? Why are we even there? You know, Chinese citizens are detained in mass internment camps across China where torture and death is routine, and rape and murder. Come on, my friends. Thousands of Chinese citizens simply disappear to never be seen again. This is a total totalitarian, authoritarian regime. And here we are worried about doing business with them, and now we have their disease to worry about as well. Now, I want to mention a few laws in China which prove that they're evil. Residents are restricted to one child, only males. Female children will be murdered or aborted. And that one thing alone proves their evilness to me. Never rescue a drowning person. If you rescue a person who's drowning, you are interfering with fate and will be punished accordingly. Death, if you ever expose to anyone outside of China how silk is made. If you pass anyone on the street that's over 70 years old, you're supposed to bow on your knees and pray to these people. Registration tickets are needed to go see a doctor. You have to go through a registration process before you can ever see a doctor, and it might take months. And of course, by that time, you're probably dead anyway. There's no such thing as private land in China. Everything is owned by the emperor and the Chinese government. And you know, the worst part of it all is these people that they take prisoners, these poor people across the country that they put in these internment camps. They use them for organ harvesting, my friends. Let's not stop and look at China for a minute and see them as anything but an evil, corrupt, totalitarian, authoritarian government that needs to be stopped. They're evil. They're evil from the core. They're communist, to say the least. They're ungodly. And here we are worried to death about trade with them. Tell you what, we wasn't so tied up in trade with China right now, we wouldn't have any cases of this H5N1 virus in the United States at all. Because we wouldn't be allowing our people, no matter who you are, to go to China. China is a communist country and needs to be treated as such. Okay, it's not the Cold War anymore. Well, we need to start it back up again. I tell you, it just eats my lunch, breakfast, and supper. We give to these people. And why? Trump's kissing their butts to make a trade deal. What the hell? We want to make some money? Well, let's keep the money here at home. Let's feed our own people with our own grain, our own farmers' crops, feeding our own people instead of sending everything we got to China so the farmers can make a buck. Get rid of buying it from everywhere else in the world, and let's let our farmers farm. Let's let our oil producers produce. Let's get everything we need right here and say to hell with the rest of the world. We've got everything we need right here. But what we have right here for us, we're shipping off to other people and then buying it from other countries. Come on. We're not here to maintain a world economy. We're here to maintain a United States economy and keep it within us. We will not have an economy. Our interest rates would drop so low if we stopped borrowing money from all over the world and just paid attention to what's going on here at home. I'm not a libertarian. I'm not. But I'll tell you, they got some good ideas. And for one, I'm sick and tired of being put into a situation because our government thinks it's okay to deal with baby-killing dictators who enslave their own people, who torture, maim, and kill them, and imprison them and put them in internment camps, and they are communist on top of all of that, and he has lunch with them. Give me a break. Give me a break. Damn, I'm not going to cuss, baby. I'm not going to cuss. I want to. I'm going to tell you this. I don't like to get on these rants, but I'll tell you, it just makes me sick. And now we've got this H5N1 crap coming out of there, and we can't believe a solid thing they have to say. They're nothing but liars, cons, cheats, and thieves, just like the Democrat Party. See the relationship between the Demon Rat Party and communism? That's even worse than socialism. And that's bad enough to have to fight all the time. You know, for some reason, and that reason is disinformation. All reports suggesting that this H5N1 virus is actually a bioweapon are being censored at the highest level of the Chinese government. Everything that's coming out saying, oh, this is a bioweapon developed by China. Well, I don't know for sure if the H5N1 virus was released on the Chinese people. I don't know if it was an accident. You know, I don't know if it was released intentionally, but the results are the same. Sickness and death for innocent people across China and now across the world. You know, I believe nothing coming out of China about sickness and death caused by the H5N1 coronavirus. We're being fed lies, and our own government is part of the cover-up. You know, they're part of the cover-up, this whole pandemic that I believe threatens to kill people worldwide. Call me a conspiracy theorist if you want. People, I love history. And in 1819, we had 50,000 U.S. soldiers die from the Spanish flu. 50,000. That's more than died in the whole war, World War I. More men died of the Spanish flu than they did on the battlefield. 500 million people worldwide were infected. That was a pandemic, my friends. You know, a third of the population at that time got sick, and many of them died. But you know, we have to believe that nothing said about this H5N1 virus. You know, we can't believe it in China. We can't believe it anywhere else in the world because we're being lied to at every turn by every country, every politician, every doctor, and everyone around the world. We are being lied to. I'm going to stop for a minute. I'm going to look at the chat a little bit. I've been on a rant for 38 minutes, and I'm sorry. I meant to not go that long on a rant. So let me calm down a little bit. Thank you for being here in the chat. Anunnaki the One, Kevin Moore, Armed American Patriot, Dangerous Freedom, my brother in Arizona, and DM the Mod. She is absolutely awesome down there in Florida. Iron Crane. All right, I got to go back to my notes at the beginning here. Let me find them. I want to say a special thank you, Iron Crane. Thank you, sir, for your kind PayPal donation. Margot Dahlgren, I know you're in here somewhere. I haven't seen you in the last minute or so, but Margot, thank you so much for your kind PayPal donation. And 12B Georgia, thank you, my friend. I haven't seen you in here either, but maybe you'll be here. But thank all three of y'all for your kind PayPal donation. Believe me, it really helps. Thank you very much. And hello, Sam reports. Fuzzed Forks, the memo. That's cool. I'm glad to see you guys in here. I appreciate you coming by. Black Matter, Patty Toth White, Vince Dunn, Armed American Patriot. I'm going to say Anunnaki the One again. Influenza was a natural disease. Corona is a man-made virus. That's what I heard too. You know, sometimes these things break out. They actually do break out, and they are actually caused, you know, by something. But this thing here, they're saying that it went from, all right, now I've heard a bunch of different ones. The last one I heard was it went from a snake to how was it? It went from a bat, a bat to a snake to a fish to a bird, if that's possible. I don't know how, I don't know. But anyway, this thing is going to be like every other virus that we've ever had, even like the bubonic plague that they had uh, back in days of old. It will run its course. It'll mutate to a point to where it no longer infects humans, and it'll just move on and keep mutating, and that will be the end of that virus, supposedly. But we can never tell because they lie to us all the time. So we never know what they're telling us to be true or not. Bats mainly, Anunnaki said, the mammals carried just like the rats did in Europe. You're very right. And during the time of the plague, the rats and actually it was the fleas on the rats that were carrying the bubonic plague, or whatever you want to call it, the plague. And it may have even been a different plague. There were so many plagues back then. But see, that's what's going to happen today. I mean, this stuff was planned as a weapon of war. I believe that in my heart. You're not going to tell me for 1 minute that this thing was made for the good of mankind. It was patented by Bill Gates and his wife. They're also working on an antidote, or should I say, a cure for this. But of course, they'll come up with a cure when enough people are infected, or maybe some really rich people start getting sick. Then they'll come up with a cure. They already have the cure, I'm sure, already. Call me a conspiracy theorist. I don't care. But I don't believe that this thing started at a fish market. China wants us to believe that somebody went to a fish market and got a fish that had somehow been in contact with a bat. I don't know how, but somehow. So now this fish, but get this, this is an avian flu. This is an avian sickness. That means bird. So tell me now, how fish ain't a bird, a bat ain't a bird, a snake ain't a bird. Okay? None of those are birds. Only a bird is a bird, is a bird. If you don't believe me, ask Big Bird. When our kids were little, they watched Big Bird all the time. I learned real quick what a bird was. And I'm going to tell you, a fish or a bat or a snake is not a bird. So how can an avian flu be passed? Okay, somebody tell me. It's obvious, at least it is to me, that this Wuhan Institute of Virology has been developing a bioweapon for the military. They've been, pardon me, there have been no claims in China of an accident or an incident, at any of the labs and they have like 200 across the country, but leaving only one option. The H5N1 virus was released on the population of China in a test or as a weapon. Either way, people are dying, and that's been the plan from day one. In Wuhan alone, even with 11.8 million residents being quarantined, we can expect thousands to die, as 200,000 infections are expected in Wuhan very soon. If we could only get the real numbers, then just maybe we could understand what truly needs to be done. How we can safeguard the world. From this threat, we have a threat of a viral pandemic. So without the real numbers coming out of China, with numbers being skewed so badly that it's nowhere near the truth, so it can't be planned, it can't be thought about. People can't make assessments. All they can do is believe the lies coming out of China, because they're feeding us the same lies right here in the United States, like they've always done. But you don't get off this topic because I've talked about Wuhan and that virus and all that crap long enough. Let's talk a little bit about this Supreme Court of the United States for a minute. You know, they finally done something right by allowing Trump to enforce something that I talked about a few weeks ago. Maybe it was a couple of months ago. But I was talking about people who are a public charge. You know, I'm talking about illegal immigrants being a public charge. That means, you know, that they're going to be using our social services and our SNAP systems and you know, housing and all that stuff. So that's a public charge. So this judge enforced a new law on immigration restriction, lifting a pair of preliminary injunctions issued by federal judges. Now, you know as well as I do, you know, Trump enacts a law or he makes whatever it is he does. Anyway, it goes into law. The first thing that's going to happen is these demon rats are going to make a lawsuit. Got to have a lawsuit right about, you got to stop it. And it'll go before one of these liberal lower court judges. And they'll say, oh, we side with the Democrats here. So, yeah, you can't do anything. Well, then we have to take it to the Supreme Court and hope that they overturn the lower court. But 99 times out of 100, they just kick it back to the lower courts and let that judgment stand. But this time, the Supreme Court of the United States actually stood up and acted like they had a small pair. You know, at issue is the Trump administration rule issued back in August that would restrict immigrants from entering the United States if the government believes that they will rely on public assistance such as housing, food stamps, and or health care and other benefits. Of course, the liberal Supreme Court judges, Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan, they all voted to block the enforcement of the regulation, but it wasn't enough. The real problem more was the blatant common practice of trial courts ordering relief transcends the cause before them. And that made a little bit of sense to me. What it means is these lower courts making all these rulings transcends everything when it shouldn't. You know, by not admitting immigrants in the U.S. because they will be a public charge has been on the immigration law and it's not been defined by any statutes. And that all changed back in August. The old idea that the American value principle is simple is not true anymore. Immigrants need to be able to be self-sufficient. This is the core principle of the American dream, is to prosper, to take care of yourself, to grow, to raise a family, to be able to pay for them by the work of your hands or the smartness of your mind, whatever it is. But you need to use that, to succeed in America. And that's what it's all about. It's our core principles. The public charge rule has faced fierce opposition from immigrants, activists, as well as the demon rats who have opposed measures to the left welfare for immigrants and calling for more social aid programs as well. So you see, that's what we get. All we want to do is, you know, that what's right for America, and everything we do, every single thing we do is tore down. It's nothing like it used to be. And, you know, I was writing about something the other day, and I've got a few minutes left. I'm going to see if I can use up this time. But talking about how things aren't like they used to be. And I know most of you out there aren't old as I am, but I'll tell you, I even look further back than my childhood when I look back on the past. And we need to understand that, you know, sometimes we need to take a peek in the past, you know, to see where our firm foundation and our footing came from and why we are who we are and why we are what we are. And it makes a big difference. So try, if you can, just for a minute, to picture A U.S. neighborhood composed mostly of low income to middle class families. They've all got the 3-house, bath and a half, 2 carport. You know, each of the homes in this neighborhood is occupied by 2 parents and their children. Single parent families are not to be found in this neighborhood. There are no homeless people, no rampant street drug use. Doors and windows are not locked, and people can walk the streets at night without fear. I'm sure some of you will say that I have an overreactive imagination, and I'm making every bit of this up. But I'm going to tell you, people, when I was a kid, that's the way it was. I was able to get up in the morning in the summer when school was out. I'd get up at daylight. My dad always went to work early. So did my mom. I'd get up early because I'd hear them, and I'd grab my stuff. I'd get my .22 rifle, my shotgun, and I'd grab my fishing pole. I'd strap them on my bicycle, and I'd head up the road. And I'd pick up a couple of friends here and a couple more a mile down the road. And we'd go out in the middle of the woods. We'd hunt if it was in the fall, or we'd just target shoot, or we'd go fishing. A lot of times we went and rode up the mountain. There's a mountain not far from here that's National Battlefield, and we used to go up there a lot and hang out. But we'd leave at daylight and come home at dark. Nobody ever asked or questioned what we were doing. Nobody ever asked why we were carrying shotguns and .22 rifles. Nobody ever cared. We never locked our doors. We didn't lock our windows at night. We didn't have air conditioning as children when I was a child, so we had to leave the windows up. A lot of times there was a fan in the window. But I'll tell you, we had freedom back then. Kids don't have that today. It's a thing of the past. All the local schools, they all raised the American flag in the morning. They lowered it every evening. And they lowered it with respect and reverence. And we pledged allegiance to that flag willingly, knowing that under this flag, we are a united people. I grew up in the times when it was something to be an American. You could be proud to be an American. I remember when Kennedy was assassinated. I remember a lot from my childhood. I remember first man in space. I remember the first moonwalk, the first spacewalk. I remember when John Glenn was the first American to orbit the Earth. I mean, come on, I've been here and I've seen it all. I hope to see a lot more because times are changing today like it never has in the past. I mean, when you stop and think, it's only been a few hundred years now, not even 3. We haven't been here as long as the Romans, and yet we're already having growing pains, and a lot of things are happening. There's a lot of different ways this country can fall, and there's a lot of ways that we can prosper. But all we can do as patriotic Americans is to do the right thing, and the right thing is to, God, country, family, and protect all 3. I personally believe that it should be our God and our family and then our country. But then again, if it wasn't for this country, you wouldn't have the family. And because of the family, we are a country. So, every morning when I went to school, before we started class and after we had said the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, we'd have a Bible scripture read over the intercom by the principal or the assistant principal. The tough as nails, yet tender-hearted teachers passed on tradition of excellence of thought, expression, civility, excitement, and passion, preparing us for wide-ranging careers in a free and independent America that was free for all. We all lived the American dream. A typical school had a much higher standard and the grade profiles than schools in America today, and it did on a very small budget. You know, in these backward times, schools were free of drugs, much less sexual promiscuity, and we never even thought about gender identity. We had respect of the authority of teachers and parents and for the dignity of all people. But all that peace and happiness now is gone. It's no longer here. That peace is gone. It died. And it started dying when they took God out of our schools. They took the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance, and they took our history and they distorted it and they changed it. It's not anything like it was, not anything like it is. We're taught, you know, hypothetical situations are more important than actual true history. Well, a hypothetical situation, you can make it anything that you want it to be. So you never have to really know what really happened. You know, the radical distortions of reality are dressed up in enduring language and fed to the public in the newspapers and the radios and TV, school campuses, you know, and just all over the houses of worship, even, and the mainstream media. You know, that was all good in backwards times, but is despised by the left, and progressiveness was thrust on America like a wrecking ball, you know, in pursuit of a population of zombies and not Americans who can think and choose for ourselves. And that's what they want. They want a bunch of mindless zombies that will do whatever they say. And my friends, I'm not trying to, you know, just rant this whole show, but it's a good night for it. And I'll just tell you, it ticks me off the way that we're being lied to, not just by China, but by every other country, by every other politician. I'm not saying that every single politician is lying every time he speaks, but I'm going to tell you what, these people lie. They have to be liars. They have to be liars, cons, cheats, and thieves in order to survive in that swamp that we call DC. The cabal has such a deep state foothold that even if Trump wanted to, he couldn't clean that place up, not in one term. So let's see if he can get reelected in 2020. I'm going to tell you, people, Hillary was out again this week saying, oh, she is just being so urged to run. She just don't know. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. She'll probably throw her hat in. But look what we've got. Joe Biden actually trying to get physical with somebody that didn't support him at a speech. And then Bernie Sanders, his guys, they're wanting to put us all in gulags, re-education camps. That sounds just like China, doesn't it? Isn't that what China's doing to their people? Putting them in re-education camps. And if you can't be re-educated, you'll be made to a slave. And if you're not a good slave, they'll just kill you. That's plain and simple. But yet we do business with these people. Why? Why do we do business with them? We don't need what they've got. They need what we've got. We've got just as many scientists and just as many smart people here as there are in China. And if there's not as many, we've got better ones. So why are we relying on them? Why is everything here made in China? I'll tell you what, everything behind me on this wall right here was made in America. So take it or leave it. I don't give a hoot. But we've got to buy American. We got to live American. We don't need China. We don't need a bunch of baby killing people, who kill their own, torture, maim, and murder. That's all they know. So we've got to be looking at this a little bit. We've got to realize China is what they are. They are mass murderers. They are murderers of humanity. They do not know the rule of law. They do not know love of mankind. So anything we hear out of China, anything that comes out of China about this virus, we can't believe. Cannot believe not one word of it. And my friend, don't believe the CDC either. They're all part of the same cabal, but China's an extreme. Don't believe anything coming out of China. It's not going to happen until it gets so bad that they can't cover it up anymore. They're going to keep it to a minimum. They're going to keep it a few here, a few there. But one day it's just going to explode. And when it does, you'll say, well, Deplorable Bobby said that, but I didn't believe his old butt. You know, he's just an old man ranting and raving. Tigger, good to see you, brother. Benny Mabe. Vince Dunn, my dear friend in Florida, DM the Mod. Thank you so much, dear friend, for being here. It always warms my heart when I see DM. When she could take time out of her day to spend with me, that's a blessing. Anunnaki the One, Linda Horner, my dear friend. God bless America. Patty Toth White, Dangerous Freedom, my brother. Kelly, hello, History B. How are you doing, dear? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that name. But anyway, thanks, History B, for being here. Love you. Linda Horner again, Fuzz Forks, Vince Dunn, Tigger, Sam reports. Yeah, we're going to be talking in the next couple of days. Y'all keep your eyes open. Maybe me and Sam can get together and do something. Shonda Graphics, my dear friend. So good to see you again from Texas. Glad to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. God bless America again. Iron Crane, thank you, brother. And thank you, Margot. Thank you, 12B Georgia. I don't see you, but thank you, Iron Crane, for your PayPal donations. And if you'd like to donate to Deplorable Bobby, my PayPal link is somewhere in the chat. I would appreciate it. If you got $1, throw it at me. If you don't, I love you anyway. So I'm going to get out of here. It's 2 minutes after 9. I've ran over. Love y'all. Talk to you later. And I'll see y'all to 3 o'clock Friday with Dangerous Deplorables. Y'all have a good night.